European Union's top diplomat, Josep Borrell, is visiting Ukraine as tensions with Russia over its military buildup near the Ukrainian border remain high. Borrell was in the country's eastern border region, where clashes between Ukrainian forces and pro-Russian separatists continue to take place. The visit comes less than a week before the US and NATO are due to hold talks with Russian officials. Borrell said any talks about European security must involve the EU and reiterated Brussels' support for Kiev.
There is no security in Europe without the security of Ukraine. And it is clear that any discussion on European security must include the European Union and Ukraine. Any discussion about Ukraine must involve Ukraine. That's why we are in a strong coordination with the US, NATO, and other like-minded countries. And that explains, apart from the will of expressing our support to Ukraine, my presence here today.
For more on this, let's cross over to Maeve McMahon in Brussels. Maeve, Borrell is calling for de-escalation, and Ukrainian foreign minister is echoing those calls. But what pressure can either side apply to Russia?
Good evening. Well, the European Union is, of course, a soft power. It can use diplomacy, like it always does on the world stage, in order to put pressure, in this case, on Vladimir Putin and on the regime in Russia. And that's exactly why Josep Borrell is in Ukraine today for a two-day visit, is in Luhansk, because this show of unity and showing that he's sitting there side by side along with the Ukrainian foreign minister is already quite disturbing for Vladimir Putin to look, because, as you know, Ukraine wants to join the European Union. It aspires as well to join NATO, the military alliance, and that's something that Vladimir Putin does not want. And in fact, it's one of the red lines that Putin will be bringing, or his officials will be bringing, to those meetings taking place in Geneva with the Americans in order to discuss the situation along the border there. And of course, another tool that the European Union can use is sanctions. Take a listen now to the Ukrainian Foreign Minister speaking today, Dmitry Kuleba.
We are systematically working to contain the Russian Federation, and undoubtedly one of the elements of this containment package is the preparation of new, painful sanctions for Russia.
And for his part, the EU's Foreign Affairs Chief Josep Borrell stressed once again that if Moscow did decide to invade Ukraine, if they did go ahead with that three-phase plan that has been reported and use those 100,000 troops that appear to be ready for war, there would be dire consequences for Russia that would come at a very, very high cost.
The EU is being sidelined in the upcoming talks between NATO and the US and Russian officials in the coming week. But Brussels can't be happy about being left out in the cold.
Absolutely. Nobody likes being left out in the cold, especially officials from the building behind me, the EEAS, the European Union's foreign service that was set up, in fact, and established back in the Lisbon Treaty in order to give the European Union foreign policy clout on the world stage. But as we've seen from the last couple of days, and the fact that Putin will hold those talks in Geneva just with the Americans, snubbing the Europeans, it means that the European Union as a whole does not have any clout when it comes to foreign policy, and it remains very divided when it comes to its stance on Russia, and of course as well on the future of its security policy. But it is of course worth pointing out that the phone lines between Washington DC and Brussels do remain open. Consultations are very much ongoing about the situation in Ukraine, and a meeting will take place as well by NATO on Friday, a virtual meeting, and 21 EU members are of course NATO members, and tomorrow we'll see officials from the new German government and from the French government heading to Moscow for talks hosted by Vladimir Putin in the Normandy format.